This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Hello, football fans, and welcome to The Onside Kick. My name is Ricky Widmer, and as always, joined by Mark Weber.
How's it going, guys?
And Mark, this time it's back down to the two of us. Mike Slawinski couldn't be in with us. Dave Oster, of course, he's always MIA lately. So we're doing a little bit of a two-man grouping right here.
Yeah, it's feeling good. Feeling pretty good about it. We're getting into the final stretch here, all right? Of what? I don't know, but it's the final stretch.
The final stretch of the NFL season, divisional round coming up.
Well, the season's done.
The season's done. We're in the playoffs right now. But before we get into this podcast, and we got a lot going into it, Rams could be moving to L.A., Jameis Winston could be staying in college instead of going to the NFL draft, and then, of course, we got the playoffs. But we kind of had shocking news, and, I mean, it was shocking to me only because I remember my entire childhood watching him on SportsCenter, where the entire sports community lost a great life this weekend as ESPN anchor, and I'm going to throw out legend, Stuart Scott passed away at the young age of 49 years old. And like I said, Mark, I mean, this to me, when I woke up, I believe it was Sunday morning, and I opened my phone, I was scrolling through Twitter, and I kind of saw a tweet that kind of mentioned it. And at first, when I saw it, I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, no, wait. And I had to go to ESPN, had to go to SportsCenter, just to be for sure that what had happened had happened.
Yeah, it was a little surprising. And I said it to you actually before the show too, where I didn't really realize until, I mean, it was a little while before this, but I didn't really realize that Stuart Scott wasn't around as much. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh yeah, he's gone. Like, it was a weird thing to just suddenly realize of like, we have been missing him, haven't we? I mean, I don't think I've ever really had favorites between like NFL commentators and like the halftime post game type of analysts. I know a lot of people have more people they hate, but I don't think necessarily that Stuart Scott was on anyone's hate list.
Well, no, and I mean the one thing, and for me it was by the time he started at ESPN, of course we were too young. We were, I think, like 2 or 3. When he first started ESPN, I believe on like Monday Night Countdown or whatever, by the time we got old enough, or when I got old enough to watch SportsCenter, he was already an anchor, and he was doing SportsCenters. And the one thing I always loved about Stuart Scott was the catchphrases, and he had so many of them. He was the guy who, when I watched SportsCenter, he made the highlights interesting. It was kind of like I was watching a old-timey broadcaster with some catchphrases retelling the story on SportsCenter with the highlights.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it was definitely a sad thing to see. And the NFL is one of those things, just the best one that comes to mind is ask Brett Favre. It doesn't stop. Something happens in your life, in your family's life, in your teammates' life. Too bad. It's Sunday. You got to keep going. And that's everybody in the NFL did a great job of, especially ESPN commentators, stuff like that, did a good job of. It's sad. It's very 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 emotional time, but we're still professionals. We're gonna keep getting through this, and I think that's kind of the best way to honor someone who has been around for so long, been such a good professional, and so great at this job for so long.
What's the one thing, and I mean Rich Eisen, of course. Eisen and Dan Patrick, they've worked with Stuart Scott. They're no longer with ESPN, and I know like a radio host like Dan Patrick has voiced some bad blood type of opinions about what he calls the mothership in ESPN. I just thought, though, that it was just total grace. I mean, Richard Eisen, close to Stuart Scott, as he even said when he announced the news, was Stuart Scott always called Rich Eisen his TV wife because of they were married at the hip on television. And just for me, I had to look back to see if I still have it on my Facebook. But ever since I was in high school, at least when I made my Facebook, one of my favorite quotes that I have down, it's the only one I have down on my Facebook, as cool as the other side of the pillow.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have had that without Stuart Scott.
It's true. But yeah, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of commentators out of there. Someone's going to, step up to I mean, I guess people already do. There's a lot of, people like to trash a lot of the commentators, especially the actual people, the analysts actually talking during the game. But there's a lot of good ones too. And I think it's an interesting thing where you can have these people that really do affect your view of the game and really kind of make it that extra step, make it just a little bit better.
Well, and I mean, and this is the last thing I'm going to say is me and you maybe didn't get the aspect where I never understood how you hear people talk about Stuart Scott and they're like, you know what, when he first started with the catchphrases and his kind of excitement and attitude that he brought to SportsCenter, there weren't people that liked that at first. They wanted okay, this is what ESPN has been, this is what you have to do. And for me, I always came up with ever since I watched SportsCenter, you always got to have the funny anchors on there. Always cracking jokes, making fun of things, and having the catchphrases, because me as a young kid, that's what drew me in. Mm-hmm. It made SportsCenter fun to where it wasn't just, when people ask, it's like, oh, well, why do you watch SportsCenter? It's just the same thing over and over. Yeah, but it's entertainment, and that's what it was. That's
why the best part of SportsCenter to watch is after the late night games, when it's just kind of like they don't care very much right now. They're
especially when you got Kenny Mayne on there.
Yeah, the producers are asleep, so we're fine. We can do whatever we want out here.
And it's so funny. I mean, I was just talking with this to Mike Slinsky, who was on the show last week, is now that they're live, if you notice, they get crazier and crazier as the night goes on, but that last live episode before they go to that's the one they're going to tape for the overnight, that's when they clean everything up. So when it gets to the morning, the suits or the penguins, they don't see it.
Yeah, for sure. But we got a lot to talk about on this show, this one, so I'm excited about this one.
Okay.
In particular, because it's going to shake some things up.
Okay.
The St. Louis Rams going to move to LA?
See, and this is the one thing where today, if you haven't heard the news, that the Rams owner, Stan Kroenke, has agreed to team up with owners of Hollywood Park to build an 80,000-seat stadium on a 298-acre parcel of land in Inglewood, California. And the Rams owner is also going to move the lease of their current stadium, the Edward Jones Dome, to a year-to-year lease. And if the city and him don't come up with an agreement for a new stadium, Kroenke could be taking the Rams back to L.A.
Yeah, and I think that would be a lot of fun. I mean, since what? It was 2001 or 2002 was the last time we got any additions with the Texans, and this being the most recent. So I mean, I think it's exciting, and of course,
this
Cleveland
wouldn't
Browns
really
as
be
well.
an addition, but
I mean, it's exciting to see a team do something new because the NFL has been so stable and just so sound, and it's better than having a team in London.
Plus,
Vancouver.
And the one thing I think of is, do we need an LA team?
Why not? Do we need a St. Louis team?
And here's an interesting point, and I believe I heard this on PTI today. I believe it was PTI. But wherever I heard this point was, when you look at St. Louis, the one thing that would not bother me about the Rams moving back to LA, St. Louis is a baseball town. They've never been, I mean, yeah, there was a lot of hype around the Rams when Kurt Warner was there and they were going to Super Bowls and they won a Super Bowl under Kurt Warner. But I bet you if you asked most of the population in St. Louis, if you had to pick who you care about more, the Rams or the Cardinals, 99.9% of St. Louisians are going to say, yeah, I care about the Cardinals a little bit more.
Oh, yeah, I can definitely agree with that. And, it's for the Rams, too, not too successful lately. I mean, I'm sure, attendance and stuff for the Rams is fine. I don't really know off the top of my head. But I don't think people would be that upset. I think for a team, too, that has moved before, This is a franchise that has moved before, so moving back home to LA wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
Well, and here's another thing that I feel like a move to LA for the Rams does. Think about their division. Seattle, you have San Fran, and Arizona. Who's the furthest east out of all four of those teams, with the Rams being one of the four? The Rams.
The Rams, yeah.
They're the furthest east, where you have the NFC West, but the Rams are in the Midwest. So if you move them back to LA, you can have a true NFC West.
For sure. And there's a few of these weird divisions. Of course, AFC South with Indianapolis somehow being in the South. Although people from Indiana typically think they are in the South.
Yeah, but I mean, you have in that division you have Tennessee. Tennessee's not really that far south.
Kind of south.
But like you said, they're the most spread out. Jacksonville's down in Florida. Houston's in Texas, and then the Colts and the Titans, they're kind of spread out. They're not really close.
So, I mean, not that you have to have these geographic divisions, although when you name them after, geographic terms, they should be. But I think it would be fun to just have things kind of mixed up a little bit. It'd be exciting to see. Of course, it's probably going to stay as the LA Rams, so not much is going to change.
I would figure because you're going to go back to where the history was.
Yeah, so it's not like they're going to change too much, but it would still be kind of cool and kind of exciting to see if anything, changes. Just it'll be unique. We haven't had anything really that exciting happen too late, and it's better. Like I said, it's better than having a team in London or somewhere in Canada. Take your pick on Canadian cities.
See, and I'm totally against the team in London. I hate it. I hate the idea. Ever since they said it, it's like, why do we need to? What is it? A 12-hour flight to London?
Yeah, probably.
Isn't it and especially if you're like the Seattle Seahawks and you gotta go play the London Silly Nannies, because that's what I'm gonna call them.
Yeah,
that's a longer flight.
It just there's no way that it makes sense. The one thing that makes the most sense, and by saying makes the most sense, it doesn't make sense, is that they have 8 games away, 8 games home, and just all away, all home. But that's not. That kind of sucks for this team too, because it's like, all right, cool.
Because then you're constantly on the road.
Yeah, exactly. You're always on the road. You can't go home, see your family. There's some little mental distress right there. You're not going to be ready to play. It's just, you can never be comfortable in that case. But yeah, it's not. Plus, where do they practice during the week? Do they have to pull the Patriots practice with the team you're playing?
Yeah.
Type of situation. I don't like it. I mean, a team in Canada, I get you. If you want to have a team in Mexico, I understand. But this team in London doesn't make sense to me. I get why, and I think it could be successful, even though London fans at these games typically don't understand what's happening. But they'll learn.
They're just excited.
Yeah, they'll learn if they have it. But it's just impractical to make it work.
But getting back to the Rams in LA, the interesting thing, and it's at the bottom of this ESPN article, is that it's interesting because the Rams aren't the only team that has been, let's say, rumored to move to LA. You also have the Oakland Raiders and the San Diego Chargers, who are reported as teams that could make the move to LA.
And teams that are not that, literally far away either. So it's a little easier in that case. And plus, they can keep some of that fan base. It's not that hard to be in Oakland, a fan of Oakland, and suddenly be a fan in Oakland of an LA team. Not that far of a stretch. A lot easier of a stretch than the St. Louis fans who might be tempted to go, all right, I'm a Bears fan now. Or, okay, I'm a Tennessee Titans fan. Somewhere that's a little bit closer that they can actually drive there. Not that I want to drive from St. Louis to Chicago, but it could be done. I mean, you could do it.
You could just be a Kansas City fan.
Yeah, you could.
Would Kansas City would be closer than Chicago?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's across the state of Missouri, but I mean, Kansas City wouldn't be a bad team to be a fan of.
Currently, yeah, sure. And I mean, the Kansas City fans have proven that they are a strong and loyal fan base on our YouTube page, which, of course, search on YouTube, Most Valuable Podcasts. You'll find us, or MVP Network, I believe, is what you should search.
And if we're making the comparison, the LA Rams, well, there was also the LA Raiders.
Exactly.
So why can't and the Raiders are already, according to the ESPN article, their lease at their stadium has expired, and they're going to a year-to-year agreement. And the Chargers apparently can announce their intention to leave San Diego between February 1st and May 1st each year through 2020.
There's a lot of things going on right now, and I think if I'm the NFL, if I'm Roger Goodell, I'm thinking business.
Rams.
I don't care. I'll take any of them. I want something to shake up. I want two teams moving is what I want. I don't care.
To where?
I want somebody moving to LA, and I want somebody moving somewhere in Canada is what I want. Because it's
Toronto?
I'll take Toronto. I'll take Vancouver.
Is Vancouver really that big of a city to...
I would assume so. I mean, I honestly don't know how big Vancouver is as a city. I just know as a sports market.
They're more of a hockey town, though.
Sure. St. Louis is more of a baseball town, too.
Yeah, but at least Toronto, you have... First off, if I'm not mistaken, they're the biggest city in Canada. You already have the Raptors who are doing well. The Blue Jays are doing kind of good. They're not terrible. And then if you add a football team there, and if they can do successful, maybe bring some rejuvenating life to Toronto.
I just think it's easier to make if you're going to do some international jumps and you want football, American football, to be an international game. And I'm trying to think,
the Maple Leafs are Toronto too, right? The Toronto Maple Leafs?
Yep.
Okay.
You want to get somebody somewhere. It's easier to make a jump in Canada and then justify, look, the Canadian team's doing fine.
Hey, well, that was the big thing about the Bills when they were up for sale is, are they going to get a new owner that wants to move them to Toronto? And luckily, they were bought by the same family or group that owns the Buffalo Sabres. So that's a owner now that's going to say, hey, we're going to keep them in Buffalo and not move them to Toronto.
Yep, exactly. So I don't know. I'm excited. I'm very excited to see what happens in this case.
Ask me and the listeners, though, your question that you asked me before the show.
This is what I think, all right? And it kind of, I don't even know how to answer it. So here's the question. To all the listeners and Ricky, your favorite team moves to LA or somewhere, don't care where, but it's not geographically convenient. They also change their name. Are you still a fan or do you find another team?
Depends on what the name is, but also, for me, I think it's kind of... Me, I'm in a weird situation because I'm a fan of the Minnesota Vikings, but I've grown up in Chicago. I've heard guys like you. I've heard guys like Dave, my other friend Mike. You're all Bears fans. So even though I'm a Vikings fan, I've got, let's say, my finger on the pulse of what's going on in the Bears community. Plus, I'm a huge sports radio guy. I turn on ESPN 1000 here. I'm not going to hear about my Vikings. I'm hearing about the Bears. I'm hearing about Jay Cutler, Mark Trestman, what's going wrong here. So I would say if my Vikings move to LA, change the team name, everything's different, I feel like I would have to become a Bears fan by default just because my fingers are already on that pulse. I'm already here anyways, and it's kind of like a team that I'm familiar with. I'm familiar with the history. I'm familiar with the hatred of Green Bay just by growing up here. I'm familiar with the who likes Jay Cutler, who doesn't like Jay Cutler, Brandon Marshall, his personality. I would just switch to be a Bears fan.
I think it's a little difficult for me in this case because since I am in the city where my team is. So if they move, it's not convenient. I feel like...
Would you become a Packer fan?
See, that's the thing. I feel like if the team still has a good rivalry with the Lions and the Packers, I'll stay a fan. Because I hate the Packers. And I don't like the Lions either. Detroit sucks. So, as long as you still hate those two teams and I can still hate those teams, I'm satisfied. However, I can't switch to a Vikings fan. I just can't imagine it.
Why not? What's wrong with my purple people eaters?
I just can't imagine it. Maybe it's because I don't think of the Vikings' hatred for the Packers and the Lions being as strong, and I want to still hate those teams. But I don't know what I would do in that case. If something happened to where maybe divisions got mixed up or something like that, I don't know what I would do in that case. I mean, I cheer for my claw.
Would you pick
Panthers.
a team from the AFC? Maybe
I might
just
have to.
change conferences altogether?
I might have to. I think if I'm switching to somebody, it might have to be the Panthers because I claw up all day.
You do claw up all day.
I claw up all day, and really the reason why was because it was a funny thing to say at first, and now I'm kind of like, I kind of like the Panthers.
Hashtag claw up.
I got no problem with the Panthers.
You're going to be clawing up this weekend as they go into Seattle.
It's going to be a rough day to claw up, but I'm going to claw up like never before. But I don't know what I would do. I really don't. It would be very difficult.
There's only one other. If I wasn't going to root for the Bears if my Vikings move, there's only one other team I think I could find myself cheering for, and that'd be the Colts. Close enough to where we are here in Chicago.
And this is why you're not a Bears fan.
Well, and plus I feel... Why? Because they beat you guys in the Super Bowl?
A true Bears fan could never cheer for the Colts.
Maybe I become a Colts fan, or I become a... When I was a kid, I always said, like, my AFC team, if I had to pick one, was the Tennessee Titans, just because back in the day I loved the Steve McNair Titans. I wanted them to win that Super Bowl over the Rams when stretching out just 1 yard short. And, hey, maybe I just become a Titans fan at that point because, I mean, they've been my AFC team. Yeah, it's kind of rough right now because they kind of suck, but maybe you just switch over to the other conference and just clean the slate.
Yeah. And I wonder, actually, one thing I do wonder, because we have it for baseball with the White Sox and the Cubs here in Chicago, but like in football, if there's anyone from New York listening, I really want to know if you're a Jets fan or a Giants fan, if that team you like leaves, do you switch over to the other team?
Well, I mean, we're a football podcast, but let me ask you this: White Sox, they move, they go bye-bye, they change their name. You become a Cubs fan?
I think I would, and I don't like the Cubs. So that's saying something. I'm a White Sox fan, South Side, Chicago here. So I'm a fan of the White Sox, but I think I would switch over. Maybe part of it is because my family, pretty much all Cubs fans. I've actually, as a White Sox fan, I've been to more Cubs games than White Sox games. Just because it's a really cool environment to go into. Wrigley Field's great. So I think it would be easy to make the switch to the Cubs. It's painful to say, but I think it would be easy.
I don't think I could do it. I couldn't do it.
I think you could do it if you put your mind to it. Really.
If the Cubs moved out of Chicago, changed their name, they were no longer the Cubs. I feel like the two teams that I would have to root for is, if I'm going to go with my 90s lore and a team that was huge in my 90s, the greatest decade of all time in my opinion, the Atlanta Braves. Or the Baltimore Orioles. Go with the O's. O's are on the up and up right now.
When I was in, I think 7th grade, I was on the O's.
Were you?
In my town.
I was on the Pirates.
And you know what?
The Tigers.
We won.
The Expos.
We were the best team in the division. I mean, in the league, the little kid league.
League.
That's why I have a little trophy of it's silver because we lost in the final game.
I was back-to-back champions as the Angels.
Yeah, we never won.
Same teams twice in a row, back to back. Not just regular season champions, but tournament champions as well. Got to win them playoffs, Mark.
That's right. You know what? I didn't go to the World Series in that one when we played it. I just got home from vacation and I didn't feel like going, so I didn't. And and then we lost. So I say that if I was there, we would have won.
It's okay. My last year of Little League. We were the best team in the regular season, lost to the worst team, and that team went to the playoffs. They went to the World Series and won it all.
Well, hey, you know what? Any given Sunday. Right?
Any given whatever day it was. But, I mean, moving away from the team to L.A. thing, another thing that I know the L.A. Rams to L.A. sparked you. A story that sparked me today is... You know me. I'm getting a little bit the itch of the NFL draft is getting bigger and bigger for me as the days continue, especially as the college football playoff championship, the national championship, comes to an end. And today there was news that Jameis Winston, not only is he going to wait until after the national championship game on the 12th to make his decision whether or not to declare for the draft, he may stay in school another year.
Which, you know what? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. First of all, I think it might honestly just be that he does not want to play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Or he doesn't want to play for the Titans?
possible.
Because I feel like if the Buccaneers are going to go quarterback, you go with Marcus Mariota. You go with Super Mariota.
But I feel like if you are Jameis Winston, you don't think anyone's getting drafted before you. You think you're the bee's knees, man.
The only reason why I feel like Tampa Bay would draft Jameis Winston is, he went to Florida State. Hey, we're in Florida.
I also just realized that I missed out on the opportunity to say he is the crab's legs.
He is the crab's legs of Florida.
But, missed opportunities. I don't know. I think...
I say stay in school.
Oh, I always think you should stay in school, especially because there's no guarantees. Plus, in this situation, I really think there is no guarantee you last more than 5 years in the NFL. Which, don't get me wrong, that's a big paycheck right there.
You know who I think...
But not enough.
You know who I think Jameis Winston is going to turn into in the NFL?
Timmy T?
Vince Young.
Yeah.
Vince Young. I don't know all the success in college, goes to a national championship game, is a highly talented college football player, but in the NFL just can't get it done. I do not think Jameis Winston is going to get it done.
But I think Vince Young was probably a little more successful than Jameis
is going to be.
I see Jameis Winston more in the Geno Smith type of category
you're thinking
just
worse.
Not working at all.
Tim Tebow?
Yeah, that's why. Although Tim Tebow won a playoff game, but I'm just going to throw that out there. But I don't know.
Isn't it only because Elway wanted him to work and Josh McDaniels didn't want him at all?
Who, Tim?
Yeah. Wasn't it?
No, John Elway did not want Tim Tebow at all.
Okay.
John Elway came after Tim Tebow, I think. It was Josh McDaniels who wanted Tim Tebow.
Okay. I just remember that back when Tim Tebow was on the Broncos, somebody was really pro Tebow and someone was really anti Tebow.
Yeah, and then McDaniels was gone, and it was like, oh, see you, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun while it lasted.
Then they got Peyton Manning along with John Fox.
Yeah, they got some guy named Peyton in there to play some football. I don't know, he slings the ball or something like that, makes pizza. But I don't know. I just can't see it working out for Jameis Winston. So in this case, I'm all about. I don't know. I am torn. In one case, get that paycheck. You hope Mariota decides he's not going to go, because then by default you're number one. And yeah, it's not the Sam Bradford days, but it's still going to be a nice paycheck. And to be honest, even if you fail in Tampa Bay, you probably could get a pretty decent contract somewhere else too. So you'll get a couple of good paydays, and then you can fizzle out. Or you go and actually get a degree and do something.
He's not Andrew Luck.
Yeah, exactly. He's not Andrew Luck, but at the same time, college degree does help out quite a bit. Dropping out of college, you're in... Well, actually, he's not in debt because he, had tons of scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
But you still, for these years, didn't really do much except for harm your body and get some fame.
You know what's the one thing I will...
And he's not going to be on ESPN in a few years.
Oh, no. And the one thing I'm going to say I kind of found rather shocking after the loss to Oregon in the Rose Bowl. You remember last year. What was the biggest thing about Jameis Winston after games?
He talked, and everyone hated listening.
You know what he said? It kind of struck me as like one of those things where he was talking in the post-game press conference, and it wasn't something idiotic or stupid. I just thought it was something where it's like, I wouldn't have said that because now all of the Twitter sphere is going to come after you, especially after last year. In the post-game conference for the Rose Bowl, he said, losing's just not in my vocabulary.
And it wasn't for a long time.
I really thought that there were going to be people in the Twitter sphere saying, oh, really, Jameis? I don't think that's the only word not in your vocabulary.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. For me, it's impressive. What's it been, 3 years and the guy's lost one game?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty impressive. But I don't know. For me, I don't think it gets better. I don't think Florida State's going to win next year.
Can I say one thing? And I know that we're a NFL pro football podcast, but about that Rose Bowl game, can I go on? Can I get on my soapbox and rant a little bit? You said it yourself. 29-1. You win 29 straight games, and I'm not talking about just Jameis Winston here because surprisingly, I don't like the guy. I don't like the quarterback. I don't think I'll ever like Jameis Winston, but I will give him credit. He did do the right thing after that Rose Bowl loss. I have a problem with the other, 80% of Florida Seminoles were they just walk off the field. It's like, come on, can't you win with it reminds me of the 30 for 30 where the Bad Boys lost to Michael Jordan's Bulls in I believe it was the 1990 NBA Eastern Conference Finals, and they just, Lambier's like, screw it, we're just going to walk off the court and not even shake their hands. That's what it reminded me of. It reminded me of, you know what? You were really, really excited when you won, throw it in everyone's faces. Oh, but now that you lost, you're going to be a little bunch of babies?
And honestly, I mean, it's a small thing, but you know it's going to stick in the back of some scout's head.
Yeah.
When it comes to the draft I mean, for Jameis, it's going to stick out in a good way of, hey, he went out there.
Hand. He went out there and shook Mariota's hand.
Yeah. For the other guys, it's like, maybe you got that D tackle or somebody you want just picking a position, and you're going, yeah, but he's got some character issues. And it's going to come out.
That just, it struck me really bad that it's like, really? You lose your first game in 29 games. Actually, it was one in their 30th game. They lost their 30th game, and they go 29-1, and you can't even go out there and shake your opponent's hand. And it wasn't like a game where, like, I could kind of understand if it was like, okay, the game was close, referees made a bad call, like the Lions-Cowboys game. You lose because of that. You're mad. Fine. Okay, I understand. But you just got outplayed in the Rose Bowl by an offense, by a defense that was just better than you. They came in, they set the pace on offense, they took your quarterback out of the game and said, hey, Jameis, try to beat us. Oh, wait, you can't. And you can't even go out there and shake their hand.
Yeah. I think a couple things here. First of all, I have to do the other shout out of one of my favorite let's just go to the locker room moments. Of course, Seahawks versus Packers. Touchception. Directed by Christopher Nolan, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. And the entire Packers team goes, nope, we're done. And then the Seahawks are sitting out there saying, it can't end like we have to kick we have to kick the point after. You have to send 11 guys out here. Yeah. Which I just think is hilarious. We're waiting. You have to send 11 people out here. We got to finish this out. But in the other situation, yeah, I mean, it's interesting to me and why I think what this game kind of really spelled out for me. The Alabama one's a little bit, although it was a close game, but still a little bit of the surprise, I guess. I don't know. The Ohio State's a really powerful team, though. When you have Oregon and you have Florida State, I feel like in this playoff system, we're always going to get to a point, especially while it's just 4. Once this gets to 8, I think it'll dilute a little bit. But while we're at 4, we're always going to get to this point where there's going to be a team in there who is just not at the same class as the other teams. And that's what I think about Florida State. Great team, but they play in a weak division. There's a reason why they were 29-0 going into this. Because they were just far and away better than the other people in their division. Once they get to play the other best teams in the divisions, they find out, oh, we're not as good as we thought we were.
I have 2 thoughts. First off, I think and I know we're getting a little bit away from NFL, what we usually do, but I don't care because
football.
I feel like this is a good topic to go with. This was my thought after the college playoff games. It prevailed. The reason why, if we had the BCS, the computers, one would have picked Florida State because, oh, they're 13-0. Then they would have picked Alabama because, oh, they're from the SEC. Guess which 2 teams lost?
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide and the Seminoles. To me, it's like, okay, it prevailed because no way would a Big Ten team get even into the national championship game.
With a third-string quarterback.
Yeah, and that's another thing, and I'm going to throw this to you. Quick question just for Ohio State. Cardell Jones, going to make his 3rd start of his career in the national championship game. If he has a good game in the national championship game, should he declare for the draft?
I say no.
He technically can.
He can, and I say no. Not enough. You're going to have scouts that go, hey, he's impressive, but I just don't know. I just don't have enough to work off of. So for me, there's no guarantee this kid's going to be the starting quarterback next year. Like, it's already, there's a quarterback battle.
Mm-hmm.
No guarantees. So go back, win that job. You don't have to win the national championship. You don't have to win the Heisman, but go out and do some good things. Because as a scout, if I was a scout, I haven't seen enough. I'm not gonna waste anything higher than a 5th-round pick on you.
Really? Only because you're saying that only because there's 3 games?
Because I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
See, and that's the one thing that I feel like Cardale Jones he's in a weird spot because all the news is that Braxton Miller is thinking about transferring from Ohio State because there's an overload of quarterback talent. Even if Miller goes bye-bye, either like Duke, Florida State or something, you still got JT Barrett that you got to compete with.
Yeah, and it's tough. These are all good quarterbacks on this roster. So it is tough. But at the same time, you're probably not going to get that big paycheck or get that starting job. Hey, you might. Who expected Russell Wilson to go win a Super Bowl?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's probably not going to happen. I would stay in college.
Getting back to the college football playoff, though, the one thing I will say about an 18 playoff that I would like is if you look at the teams that would have been the 8 top teams this year, Alabama, Oregon, Florida State, Ohio State, Baylor, TCU, Mississippi State, Michigan State. Okay, of course these games would be different. Alabama, Ohio State, great game. Oregon, Florida State, Oregon blew them out of the water. That Michigan-Baylor game, I turned that thing off because I'm like, oh, Baylor's got this in the bag. Michigan State comes back, wins by a point. I'm saying the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, best bowl game this year. Best one this season. TCU comes out. They play a great game. They probably would have blown Mississippi State out of the water just like they did Ole Miss. To me, I feel like an 18 playoff would have been just as good as a 4.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think the thing about this one, maybe is a little extra motivation, but all these teams that missed out, and some of them didn't miss out by much, were saying, hey, we're going to go out and we're going to show you why we should have been number 4. Not that number 4 was a scrub, but you know what I'm saying. They're saying we should have been in this, so, hey, let us in because you missed out. Which is one thing I do really love the way this works out now, though, with the bowl games, because at least these other teams have one chance to make a statement. And I think that's a really cool addition to have for these guys.
And, okay, the one thing I'm going to say is with TCU, of course, they were making a statement. They blew Ole Miss out of the water saying, hey, we should have been in the college football playoffs. I'm going to toot my own horn here. If it was up to me, you know what the college football playoffs would have been? Alabama versus TCU in the Sugar Bowl, Oregon versus OSU in the Rose Bowl. Florida State would have been number 5. Bye-bye, you're going to play Ole Miss. And then Baylor would have been 6. You're still playing Michigan State in the Cotton Bowl.
Can't have an undefeated team miss the playoffs, though.
Yeah, but I mean, TCU was a great team, and they proved just off of how Florida State lost and TCU won in decisive fashion, they proved that, hey, maybe we should have been there over Florida State because undefeated don't mean a thing.
Well, I mean,
if it ain't got that ring.
That's kind of a problem. Well, they do have the ring, but
not this year.
No, they had it last year. But that's the problem, though, when you have this only four get in, but there's more divisions and there's more good teams. So it's such a limited thing, and in a sport like baseball, limited is good. But in college football, where there's this great variety, where for 8 weeks you play crappy teams, and then you play 3 or 4 good ones, you don't get a very accurate description. So let's find out who the real good teams are. It's going to take a little bit longer. We're going to have to tweak the schedules a little bit maybe, but let's find out how good TCU is compared to how good Florida State is.
You know what hurt TCU and Baylor? They didn't have a championship game.
Yeah.
They did not have a Big Ten championship game, and we didn't know who was the better team, Baylor or TCU. We didn't know because they never could go. They went head-to-head once, but they could never have that, okay, here's our Big 12 championship game, put it all on the line yet again. That's what hurt TCU.
Yeah, for sure. It's I don't know. I'm excited. This is a podcast where Mark Weber is very excited. The Mark Weber, at the Mark Weber. Follow me on Twitter. Very excited. Shaking up the NFL, shaking up the college playoffs, because I think it's going to keep changing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're going to have this fourth thing for 2-3 years. Because I think every year we're going to get one of these going on.
The two semifinal games, highest ratings for a college football bowl game.
Because here's the thing. Who cares about the GoDaddy Bowl?
Mm-hmm.
Who cares about I'm just making something up, but the John's Flower Shop Bowl? Nobody cares about John's Flower Shop. Everyone hates that place. But when it comes to the semifinals, that's awesome.
I think another thing that built it
it's college. Just steal the Elite Eight. Just take it. You can do it.
And the one thing I think we all bashed it early on was like, oh, well, how they give who cares about their rankings now? It only cares about the rankings in the end. The college football playoff rankings were after, I think it was week 8, them putting out rankings each week. That was a good thing, and it built up hype for these games to where when we got to the Final Four, it was like, okay, how are these things? And you had great storylines in this game. With Ohio State, Alabama, you had the SEC masterminds going at it again. Can Urban Meyer beat Nick Saban? Can Nick Saban stay on top? In the other game, you had, can Oregon finally get over the hump? And can this year's Heisman winner beat last year's Heisman winner?
For sure. I think one thing, though, with this Oregon-Ohio State matchup, don't you really just want it to be the Rose Bowl? This is the Rose Bowl. The Rose Bowl that we had was not the Rose Bowl. There was no Big Ten team in it. Now we have the Rose Bowl. That's the one thing I don't like about the playoffs. Don't have it be the Sugar Bowl. Don't have it be the Rose Bowl. Don't have it be the Iron Bowl. Don't do any of that. Just make it the semifinals. Because when you have it be the Rose Bowl, I sit there going, this isn't the Rose Bowl. Where's my Big Ten team? This is not Big Ten versus Pac-12.
This is what the Rose Bowl usually is the Pac-12 champ versus the
Big Ten champ.
The Big Ten champ.
So I don't like it in that case, but whatever. You're almost done, college football. I'm almost done with you.
And the one thing I am looking at right here is, of course, I'm going to give myself a shameless plug that I write for writingillini.com. And we actually had a great article this week where my co-editor wrote a article about should an Illinois fan rooting for the Big Ten and rooting for Ohio State. And you talking about that this is the Rose Bowl, I had to read this comment where we had a comment on this article where this guy Eric said, I was pretty much doing the same yesterday, so cheering for Ohio State over Bama. Now we have what should have been the Rose Bowl matchup in Oregon-Ohio State. I'm calling it the Yellow Rose of Texas Bowl.
Interesting. Yeah, we've had this discussion before too, Ricky, where it's like, hey, especially in baseball, your team's knocked out, but do you cheer for the same conference? Or do you cheer against the team in your conference?
For me, I cheer for my Big Ten just because the Big Ten was bashed all year.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've got a little bit of duck in me.
See, this is actually a great matchup for me. I love Ohio State because I love Tressel, and I really like Urban Meyer. But Oregon's fun. Nobody dislikes Oregon because unless you're, Stanford or something. Nobody likes or dislikes Oregon. They're just a great, fun team. This is going to be such a fun one to watch. As opposed to just, Alabama's in it again? Okay. It's going to be great.
I'm trying to see if I can find this tweet. Okay, here it was. This was right after Florida State lost to Oregon. One of the best tweets about the national championship game, I feel, came from Colin Cowherd of ESPN. It's simple. All he said was, FSU had a month to prepare for this. Speaking of the Oregon offense. The next victim gets a week.
Yeah.
FSU got a month and could not stop the pace of Oregon. Ohio State gets a week.
For sure. But at the same time, Oregon had a month to really perfect this. I mean, they do it all the time.
Well, I mean, with Oregon, it's all tempo. With Oregon, it's all tempo.
I think Urban Meyer can handle it.
You think so?
I think he can. Since we're on the conversation, Ricky,
okay,
pick a team. Who wins the national championship?
Oregon. They get there first.
I'm taking Ohio State. Urban Meyer.
I would. This is a game though for me where I would not care who wins because.
Oh no, I don't either.
If Ohio State wins, great. My Big Ten gets a championship, and we prove the haters wrong. But at the same time, the Oregon offense, after what they did, they deserve. Super Mariota deserves to go out on top. Oregon finally, to me, deserves that national championship because they should have beat Scam Newton in the Fiesta Bowl. They should have beat Scam Newton.
Didn't though.
Should have though. Should have beaten Scam Newton.
He was too busy clawing up.
Well, speaking of claw, we got some to end the podcast. We have some divisional playoff games to go on, and if I'm not mistaken, to recap our wild card predictions with me and you.
I did pretty good on this.
Well, I don't think I did that bad myself. Didn't we both pick the Panthers?
We both clawed up.
Then I picked the Ravens.
I did not. I picked the Steelers.
You picked the Steelers. We both picked the Colts.
Yep.
And then I think I picked the Cowboys, but I can't. I think Slowinski was the only one that said Lions.
You took Lions
That's right.
with Slowinski.
Okay. So I got one wrong.
You were going to pick
the Cowboys.
But then you switched.
That's right.
I stuck with the boys.
So we were both one wrong.
Yep. We're doing good.
This week, we got my match.
I don't know what Mike over here was thinking.
No. Well, he
was 2-2.
He likes his Lions, but you know what? We got my matchups, especially in the AFC, where you get Ravens, Patriots. This is the third time in 4 years that we're going to see these two teams go at it, either in the division or the AFC championship game. And to me, yeah, the Ravens are good. They usually find an answer for Tom Brady. John Harbaugh, though, needs to pump the brakes a little bit with what he said after that game over Pittsburgh, where Joe Flacco might be good. He might be a good playoff quarterback, but he's not the best quarterback in the NFL.
Hey, some people are saying he's the best in the NFL.
And the one thing I heard, it was somewhere on ESPN. I can't remember where it is. Maybe it was Sports Nation, but they said, you know what? Joe Flacco may not be an elite quarterback in the regular season, but once the playoffs happen, he becomes an elite quarterback. Nonetheless, though, I think the Patriots go on.
I don't know. This one's honestly tough for me. I kind of am tempted.
I'm picking Pats at home.
I'm tempted to pick the Ravens. I really am.
Pats at home.
The 4-4 record for the Ravens on the road does scare me. And they lose the other statistic, of course. The other statistic being that they never under the new Harbaugh year, they never lose their first game in the playoffs. My brain is saying I should go with the Patriots, but my heart, Ricky, maybe it's Ray Lewis speaking through me, saying pick these Ravens.
You go with your Ravens if you have to. I'm gonna go Pats.
I'm going Ravens.
How about Claw Up versus Seattle?
Now, Ricky, the inner claw in me is saying I gotta pick these
claw
Patriots.
up.
I mean these
you gotta
Panthers.
Claw up.
But there's no way they can beat the Seahawks.
No,
it just can't happen.
I gotta go Seahawks because do I want to see the Panthers win? Yes. Do I want to see Seattle win? Nah, I could care less. But I gotta go with Seattle.
And here's the thing for Seattle at this point. As much as I've said the Seattle Seahawks will not repeat, it's so difficult to repeat all this. When I look at all these other teams, I go, yeah, who's gonna beat them? Mm-hmm. Really, like when it comes down to this, Packers not gonna beat them. The Broncos, you already lost. The Colts, come on. It's just Andrew Luck versus an entire defense. Like, who's going to beat these Seahawks? Nobody. I can't see it yet. So I'm going with the Seahawks.
How about Cowboys-Packers?
This one, Ricky. Got to keep rolling on.
This is a game
I'm going with Tony Romo.
This is a game that's going to be interesting because you have the Cowboys are undefeated on the road. The Packers are undefeated at home. Something's got to give.
Yeah. Hey, Ricky, what do I always say about streaks? They end.
Well, which one comes to an end?
Streak is ending. So, I mean, you got Aaron Rodgers versus Tony Romo in this, which is going to be fun. But I think this really is going to come down to whose run game works out. One of these run games, the Cowboys' run game has been definitely better than the Packers. But at the same time, the Packers' run game, when it turns on, this team is unstoppable. So which one of these teams are going to get that run game working and just roll right through? I got to go with DeMarco Murray, Tony Romo, Cowboys.
what we said about Seattle, how they're going to go on. Also, one thing about that's actually a rematch. I didn't even recognize this. The Seahawks
Panthers,
were playing.
Seahawks?
Yeah, they were playing terrible at the time. Seahawks won in Carolina, 13-9 in that game.
Tough matchup.
But no matter, let's say the Seahawks win, and we're both right. No matter who wins, Cowboys or Packers, it's going to be a rematch. And that rematch we're going to see is the Cowboys going back to Seattle, see if lightning can strike twice.
8-0 on the road.
And Tony Romo can win in Seattle dose times.
Also, that's another one that was early on, though.
Yeah, but still, lightning strike twice? Can you win in Seattle 2 times?
We'll
2
find
times.
out. Well, we'll maybe find out.
The only loss for Seattle,
and of course,
against the Cowboys.
If the Packers win, they're still going. We don't care that Golden Tate is not on that team anymore. We are getting vengeance again, and they're gonna. Didn't they get destroyed by the Seahawks not too long ago though?
The Packers?
Yeah.
They played week 1 of the regular season, I believe. I'm gonna bring it up.
And they got killed.
Yeah, 36-16. That was that Thursday night opener for the season, and the Packers got demolished in Seattle.
Yeah, so
I'm going
either way.
So we're both going Cowboys.
Yeah.
What about Colts Broncos?
Ricky. Now this is a tough one for me because
hey, it's tough for me too.
I want Peyton Manning to ride off into the sunset.
I want to see another the Brady Manning Bowl.
Yeah, that'd be fun too. Although I feel like I'm kind of over it. But if it was gonna happen, I'd be excited.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, though, Andrew Luck versus Tom Brady would be cool too. Although out of these combinations, wouldn't it be fun to have Andrew Luck versus Joe Flacco?
No,
because nobody wants it.
No, nobody wants that. You're right. No, the only significant thing about that would be
nothing.
Baltimore gets to come to Indy to revenge the Colts leaving Baltimore. That's the only storyline I can think of.
Yeah, but no Colts fan cares. I mean, no Ravens.
No Raven fan cares anymore because they've got 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm going Andrew Luck wins this game, goes against Tom Brady.
This is a tough one. It really is. I mean, Peyton Manning, been a little shaky.
The Broncos are 8-0 at home, though. But Andrew Luck can get it done.
The Colts team did not really impress me in the last win. Yeah, you won. I wasn't very impressed. I think
why? Because it was Andy Dalton.
Yeah, I mean, well, Andy Dalton definitely was in the game for a while for not having wide receivers on the team. So that's kind of impressive. And hey, Andy Dalton did not do that bad. All right, they didn't win, but he did not do that bad this time. Still 0-4, but not that bad. So I don't know. I'm kind of tempted to roll with the Broncos on this one. I think Peyton Manning had enough time off to go, hey, I've been really sliding off here at the end of this season. I mean, we're still talking about Peyton Manning, but sliding off a bit. Let me step it back up.
Well, and the funny thing is, this game is obviously a rematch of...
Everything's a rematch.
Week 1 in Denver. No matter if the Colts win, no matter who they play, they're either getting a rematch at home. Same game we saw Week 5 against the Baltimore Ravens where the Colts won 20-13. Or they get a rematch, except it's in Foxborough, where they lost 42-20 to the Patriots.
Here's the thing, though. Look at these numbers for Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning. Andrew Luck, 47-61. For Peyton Manning, 47-27. Very close. Touchdowns, Andrew Luck 40, Peyton Manning 39. This is going to be awesome just seeing these two go up against each other. So close, so neck and neck in this situation. Yeah, Andrew Luck didn't throw as many balls as he threw more than Peyton Manning, but didn't complete as many. But still, these neck and neck right here, both run games, nothing to really be that impressed about. I just want to see these two throw nonstop. Don't let the running backs come out there. 5 wide receivers just throw the entire time.
Hey, I said it last week. If Andrew Luck wants to go to the Super Bowl, odds are he's going to go through both Peyton Manning and Tom Brady to do so. No. Tom Brady and Tom Brady.
He's going to go against the elite quarterbacks here. Peyton Manning and Joe Flacco.
You know what would be really funny? If Colts win, he plays Tom Brady. They win. He plays the Cowboys, another rematch of what happened this season, and he wins the Super Bowl. Gets his revenge on 3 straight teams that he played this season in order to win the Super Bowl?
Be fun. Be a fun one. I don't know. I think if any of these teams, I'm still thinking if the Cowboys are going to win a Super Bowl with Tony Romo out there, and of course DeMarco Murray, this is the year.
Well, it's Super Bowl or bust for Jerry World.
Jerry Jones is never going anywhere.
But Christie's got to be in the stands, though, because he's the mojo. He's the mojo for the Cowboys.
He's something that's, starts M-O.
Chris Christie, right? Is that his name?
Yeah, Chris Christie. Something that starts with M-O. Money. Ask Johnny Football. He knows all about money.
But that's going to do it for the Onside Kick this week. I want to thank you guys all for listening. Hit that subscribe button, that like button. Follow us on SoundCloud. Do you follow SoundClouds? Or
I think you do follow SoundClouds.
Follow SoundClouds. Follow us on Twitter at Most Valuable Pod. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/MVP Network. And leave a comment down below. I am at Ricky Widmer on Twitter. Mark is at the with 2 E's. Mark Weber. I want to thank you guys again for joining us this week. We will see you next time for the championship series in the NFL playoffs. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you for listening to this MVP podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Most Valuable Pod for more great podcasts.